Hello, Geometry Dash Guy here. If one thing you might not know about me is that I make games in Unreal Engine. This is one of my newest games, and I would just like some feedback on it. If you want more content like this, like and sub. Anyways, let's get straight into the video. The game plays. You have your health there and your castle behind you. You have a empty field where these enemy crossbows will start shooting at your gate. If your gate falls, you're dead, and you can see these little health text above each enemy. We're just gonna let the gate fall just to see what happens. In the meantime, cue the elevator music. Look at that, our gate has been destroyed. And there's a message on the screen. The castle has been breached, my lord. The kingdom has fallen, and there's a restart and a quit button. You can see it there. I click restart, and the game restarts, just as you'd expect. I'll look at some stuff in the editor. This is the HUD. I have my gate health in the top corner and my crosshair in the center. There's a score in the top corner. I could not get that working. If you know how to fix it, please tell me in the comments below. This is my arrow projectile. That's the static mesh there. This is my gate. And I like the gate as like a blueprint. It was fun to code. You can see the blueprint here, and there is a event called Update Health, a custom one. And it basically takes the value that you get when you're updating health, which I can call at will, and it subtracts it and it adds it to the HP value, default 100, but it will change. And then it clamps that between 0 and 100, basically giving it a range. And it sets the HP to this new equated HP. Here it checks if your health value is less than or equal to 0, and if it isn't, then it just goes out into the ether, but if it is, it will spawn an emitter at location. This emitter spawns an explosion at the location of the gate. It then spawns a second explosion, which is slightly smaller. As you can see there, the scale is 333 instead of 555. After the explosion, we then destroy the static mesh, crucially leaving the blueprint alive. It then waits during a delay for a few seconds, and then it creates your end screen widget, basically telling you you lost. It gives you that few seconds just for you to appreciate your loss. Then it adds it to the viewport, obviously. And then it makes it so you don't control your player character during the end screen, and it basically restricts that with the get player controller. Then it makes it so you can see your mouse cursor, and it will pause the game indefinitely. It won't resume. Unless you restart the game, of course. If you have any feedback, please comment below. And please know, hey, it's one of my first ever projects. Let's take a look at the enemy. What it looks like in the blueprint. And the arrows where the arrows spawn. This is the enemy's code. As you can see, there's quite a lot of it. Side note, the names from here on out are going to be kind of funny. They're going to have funny comments at the end. Anyway, this code called a custom function called damage enemy with a funny comment at the end. And it has a input called damage, which is subtracted from your health. And then your health is set to that subtracted from health. Then converts that HP into text, which will update the text above the crossbow. This less than or equal to checks if the enemy's health is less than or equal to 0. If it is, then it spawns an emitter at location, and if it isn't, then it does nothing and the line of code just fades into the ether. The emitter emits an explosion, and then the enemy gets destroyed. We are now in the enemy spawner, where you can see there's a custom event called spawn enemy. Then we get all actors of class, basically meaning we get every single enemy. And it goes out into a list, basically a list of all the enemies and their properties. It finds the length of that list, checks if it's less than 3. This branch node checks if it's false, but before we see what it goes into, let's see the other side of the node. Here we see the box, which is the hitbox, box where everything spawns. And we get its location with get world location, and get its extent with get box extent. Then we use random point in bounding box to get a random point in the bounding box. Very self-explanatory. And for the Z, I wanted some variation because of very small amounts of topography. So I picked a random in range, basically putting it into a range and picking a random value out of that to give your Z. Z is height, by the way. So it's a lot of randomness, but yeah. And what this big block does is spawn the actor BP enemy, basically spawning the enemy at these parameters. We've given them some of these parameters with our random shenanigans, but some of them we've just left a default, as you can see with all the nodes that are not linked up. After we spawn the enemy and after a 1 second delay, we just run this code again to see if we need to spawn another enemy. This is our end screen, and it's very simple. The castle's been breached, the kingdom has fallen, and we're starting the clip button. Now I want to get this video out at a decent time, and I want it to be less than 10 minutes, so I'm not going to go over the code because it's really simple. The arrows code itself is also quite simple. At the start of the game, after 10 seconds, it will always self-destruct. It will also destroy itself after updating the gate's health. Going back to the enemy to figure out how it shoots and how it points towards the gate. First, it gets the parameters of the gate and the parameters of itself. Then it uses those parameters to look at the gate. Then it rotates in the direction of the gate, and after a delay, it triggers a shoot event. I forgot to show you this before, but this is where the event that updates the health text was called. There's the text in relation to the crossbow. This is the code that really shoots the arrows. So first it gets the transform, so location, rotation, and scale of the arrow. Then after the shoot event, it will spawn the arrow. Then after a delay of 0.15 to 0.3 seconds, it will call the shoot event, which causes the arrow to use its projectile movement to shoot, basically. This is also the castle that I made using geometry. This is the top bit of my castle, the crossbeams and all. There is one more thing I want to show you, which is a lift. I'm not going to show you the blueprint for it because it is really simple. It's one of the first things you learn in Unreal. You can see the lift went down behind me. I'm going to be making more Unreal content along with my old Geometry Dash content. So if you want to see it the moment it comes out, don't forget to subscribe. And also, please like. It helps out a ton.